There are a lot of spells at your disposal in Hogwarts Legacy. Thanks to all the gameplay showcases and trailers, we already know about many of the charms and curses that will make their appearance in the game. Judging from a blurred out menu from one of the gameplay showcases, there should be 26 spells to choose from at the very least. Which means we actually already know most of them, so in this video I want to go over more than 20 of the spells that have been confirmed for the game so far, as well as discuss some that were teased or ones that are likely to show up. If you're excited for the game and enjoy the content here on the channel, then leaving a like would really help us out. Subscribe for way more Hogwarts content, and let's go. And by the way, we are doing a giveaway for the digital deluxe edition of the game for your platform of choice. If you want to participate, check the link in the pinned comment and make sure you are a subscriber of the channel before entering. We will reach out to the winner before launch, so good luck. Now, a lot of spells in Hogwarts Legacy will be slotted in what's called your spell diamond, which you can see at the bottom right of the screen. Which means you'll have to make a selection to use in combat and exploration. So one spell diamond consists of 4 spells, and you will eventually unlock more of these and switch between them with your D-pad when using a controller, allowing you to equip up to 16 spells in your active loadout. But there are also some spells that are always accessible after unlocking them. These are called essential spells, and one example of this is Protego, your shield charm that you can use to deflect incoming spells. This is effectively your block and parry action in combat and is therefore bound to its own dedicated button instead of your spell diamond. And tied to this protective charm is Stupefy, the stunning spell. If you hold the Protego button to parry an incoming attack, you will immediately counter with Stupefy, which according to the developers will also stun an enemy. Not all essential spells are simply suited for combat though, as you will also be using the Revelio charm a lot when exploring the castle and the surrounding areas. Revelio is mostly used to reveal hidden objects, as we can see the player use it to grab a hidden lore note outside of the Hufflepuff common room. I imagine there are many more hidden objects that can be discovered with Revelio, so be sure to use this one often when traveling around. But the real fun starts when we start looking at the slottable spells, which all look to be suited for more than just a single purpose. Recent gameplay showed the versatility of the Accio spell, which pulls objects closer to the caster, meaning you can use it to pull objects out of reach, move platforms in a dungeon, and even pull an enemy in close and follow up with the spell combo. And one easy spell you can mix into pretty much any combo is your basic attack spell. I don't think we've heard the name of the spell anywhere, the game just refers to it as a basic attack, and your character does not shout an incantation when casting it either, but this will be your bread and butter during combat. It could be that this is in fact Flipendo, the knockback jinx, which we do know is in the game thanks to the leaked trophy list. But considering the fact that literally all other spells are listed by their name, I would imagine Flipendo is too, so I think that is going to be a slottable spell and our unnamed basic attack is something else. But you're of course not limited to following up with basic attacks when it comes to spell combos, as you can also roast your enemies after pulling them toward you with the fire making charm Incendio, which can also light torches or destroy obstacles blocking your path. And if things get too hot, you also have some form of ice spell in your arsenal, as we've seen it used in the game's state of play. While the name has not been confirmed yet, it is likely the freezing spell Glacius, and I assume that like Incendio, it will come in useful in both combat and puzzles. Some other spells we've seen in action as well are the cutting charm Defindo, which sends this blade of magical energy to cut a target and seems to be mainly an offensive spell, and Petrificus Totalis. That last one completely petrifies a target, and it can be used in conjunction with the disillusionment charm to turn yourself invisible, sneak up on an enemy, and then knock them out with one simple spell. The disillusionment charm, by the way, is also part of the list of spells, and we know from a Twitter post that certain chests will likely require you to turn invisible to open them, as you can see by the crossed out eye engraving on the chest itself. And speaking of Twitter posts, did you know that in some of the short tips videos the official account has posted, there are lists of spells written in the corner? Now, let's assume for a moment that they're there for a reason and that they actually appear in the game, because then we can add a couple of new ones to the list. Over here we can see Protego, Levioso, Expelliarmus, Accio, and Incendio written down, and most of those we've already covered, and Levioso was also featured as a spell in one of the gameplay showcases, lifting a target straight up in the air and keeping them suspended. And the disarming charm Expelliarmus is also something we've seen in action already, as the player uses it to disarm the swords from these enchanted suits of armor. Another list of spells can be found in the top right of this shot, which lists Petrificus Totalis, Rictus Sempra, Ridiculous, and Stupefy. Again, 2 of those we've already covered, but the other 2 are very interesting. If you've read the books or seen the movies, you know why Ridiculous is an interesting addition, as it's a spell with a very specific purpose. It is used to counter the Boggart, a type of magical creature that turns itself into whatever you fear most. Ridiculous is then used to turn it into something funny and take away their power. But yeah, if this is a spell we are able to cast, that would mean Boggarts also make their appearance as an enemy. Rick the Stamper, on the other hand, also known as the Tickling Charm, causes its target to laugh uncontrollably. So in terms of gameplay, I think this might be a less evil version of Crucio, where your target is still stuck in place but does not receive any damage as they are simply being tickled. And I did just mention Crucio because in case you didn't know, all three of the unforgivable curses, so Imperio, Crucio and Avada Kedavra, are all slottable spells that you can earn in the game. Although it probably requires you to go down a pretty dark path, they're not called unforgivable curses for nothing. And this is where our character's choices come into play. You might remember the story trailer where we saw a part of the companion quest with our Slytherin companion Sebastian Sallow. Here you get the choice to have him cast the Torture Curse Crucio on you, or you cast it on him. You also have the option to back out and not cast the spell at all, but I assume that if you choose to cast it on him, which would inflict a great deal of pain on Sebastian, that we can then also use that spell in combat after that. And here we see it in action, freezing a target in place due to their pain while also dealing damage over time. Imperio looks even more useful as it allows you to control the mind of a target and make them do your bidding. In combat, this effectively means that you turn an enemy into an ally by casting the curse on them, which I imagine can be very useful, especially if it also works on bigger targets like trolls. But if you really need to deal with a dangerous enemy quickly, then Avada Kedavra looks like the best spell in the game for that. While I'm assuming there are some limitations from what we've seen so far, the Killing Curse can instantly take out any enemy, even ones that normally take a lot of hits to bring down. It does have a long cooldown of 1 minute before you can use it again, but still it is very powerful. Really curious what it takes then for us to learn this spell, although the devs did know that you can already try out the curse in the Dark Arts Battle Arena that comes with the deluxe edition of the game. And it's of course amazing that we get to use these three iconic spells ourselves, and there's actually another very famous spell that I think we might get to use. Do you remember that shot from the game's reveal trailer where they showed Dementors? Well, like Boggarts, Dementors have a very specific spell that is used to counter them, that spell of course being Expecto Patronum. And while we haven't really seen the Dementors since, I'm assuming they are still part of the game, which means we'd have to learn Expecto Patronum at some point to counter them, right? Now that is just a bit of speculation from my end, but considering the fact that we also get to cast the unforgivable curses, I don't think it's that big of a stretch. Let's get back to some confirmed spells though, as we've also seen some spells mentioned in the optional combat objectives. Here we see one that has us counter a charging mongrel with the Depulso spell. This one is the exact opposite of Accio, as it pushes something away rather than towards you, and we've already seen it in action in some of the older gameplay. Another spell mentioned in a combat objective is Reducto, which is a curse that blasts a solid object into pieces. The combat objective specifically mentions an enemy casting it, so while this does not confirm we also get access to the spell, I do think it's likely, as we've seen other spells that are at our disposal being used against us too. Another spell that can be used by both us and enemies is the Blasting Curse Confringo. This one is pretty straightforward because, like the name suggests, it creates an explosion at the point of impact. Visually it looks kind of similar to Incendio, so I wonder how both the spells will differ from each other gameplay wise. We also have Descendo, which makes an object fall, but can also be used in combat to slam a target to the ground, after which they bounce back up and stay stunned in midair for a bit. And while it might not be that useful in combat, I imagine the Lumo spell will see a lot of use too, as it creates a light at the tip of your wand, very useful for exploring dark tombs or caves. During the most recent gameplay showcase, we also got a glimpse of a spell icon that we don't know the spell for yet, which is this hand icon at the top of the spell diamond. And I think we can actually figure out which one it is, as the spells are all color coded per type. So the purple spells here are 4 spells, Accio and Descendo to be precise, and then the red offensive spell is Defindo. So the spell at the very top belongs to the yellow control category, which is the same type of spell as Levioso. So like Levioso, it should help us control a target and lock them in place, and with the spell icon showing a hand signaling someone to stop, I think the only logical conclusion is that this is Arresto Momentum. This slowing charm can be used to slow the velocity of a moving object, but was also shown to be able to help the caster survive an otherwise lethal fall. We actually see the spell in action a couple of times too, and it does indeed seem to slow a target down, so I feel pretty confident this is indeed Arresto Momentum. And another spell that is still surrounded by a bit of mystery is Apugno, which is a jinx that causes an object to attack a target. While you can hear the player character verbally casting the spell during the state of play as they throw an object at their enemy, the developers later explained that this ability is part of your ancient magic during one of the gameplay showcases. So maybe that was something that was changed later on, but even if it is ancient magic, the function of it is still very similar to the Apugno jinx. And technically, this is also an essential spell, as it is not bound to your spell diamond, but rather to the R1 button that shows up above any object you were able to launch at an enemy. And that's all the spells that have been confirmed for Hogwarts Legacy so far, but of course, if you think we missed any, let me know in the comments. When we learn more about the game, we will of course let you know here, so subscribe to miss nothing, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you want, you can watch our previous video where we go over a lot of interesting details from new gameplay. I will see you in the next one, goodbye.